Episode 25, episode 25, yeah, episode 25. Goals of U.S. foreign policy, ooh, yeah. Okay, let's talk about our foreign policy goals, and our being the U.S.'s foreign policy goals. Now, each president, each administration, each candidate has their own way of maintaining foreign relations and how they plan to do things, but the U.S. foreign policy goals will always stay the same. We have 5 main foreign policy goals: maintaining national security, supporting democracy, promoting world peace, providing aid to people in need, and establishing free and open trade. That's it. Those are the 5 main foreign policy goals for the U.S. The first and most important goal of U.S. foreign policy is to preserve national security. That is, to protect the rights, freedoms, and property of the United States and its people. That means my country's first and foremost foreign policy goal is to keep me safe. It's also to keep you safe. But more importantly, me. Because, everything's about me. Duh. The next is to support democracy. As you know, since its creation, the United States has been a democratic country. A strong belief in democracy often has led the U.S. to aid other democratic nations, as well as those moving toward democracy. We've seen this so many times in history where the U.S. gets involved in other countries' business because they're not a democracy yet, but we want them to be a democracy. I mean, the most relevant, even to this day, is Iraq. We went in, we got rid of Saddam Hussein, and then we wanted them to become a democracy, and they're working towards it. But becoming a democracy takes some time. Where else did we see it? South Korea, the Korean War, right? Because North Korea is communist, South Korea is a democracy. The U.S. gets involved a lot when it comes to preserving democracy around the world. Moving on to world peace. U.S. foreign policy is also based on the goal of promoting and maintaining world peace. The more nations that are at peace, the less likely the U.S. will be drawn into an existing conflict. To advance this goal, the U.S. sometimes becomes actively involved in resolving disputes between other countries. Once again, I think the most relevant example of this is the U.S. getting involved with Israel and Palestine. Because if there's peace in the Middle East, then the U.S. doesn't have to go to war in the Middle East. They don't have to protect Israel because Israel is our biggest ally in the Middle East. So the U.S. has gotten involved many times in trying to promote peace talks between the Palestinians and the Israelis. Moving along, providing aid to people in need. As a world leader, the U.S. often has assumed the responsibility for providing humanitarian and other relief to foreign countries. This aid might come in This aid might come in the form of money, food, or military assistance. Many times after a natural disaster, the U.S. is the first to send its, people and money and supplies over. Back in, I want to say it was 2010, when that giant tsunami hit Indonesia. That's the country, Indonesia. We sent as many resources as we possibly could. We sent people to help rescue people. Even recently, in the Nepalese earthquake that happened, a ton of U.S. aid went over to help the Nepalese people. I know for a fact that USC itself sent over its doctors, a team of its doctors, to go help. So not only U.S. as a nation, but companies and institutions, universities send people over in trying to provide aid to people in need around the world. And last but not least, establishing free and open trade. The nation's leaders have attempted to establish and maintain strong global economic ties through free trade. Now, although we like to use free trade, which is the exchange of goods and services across national borders without restrictions, sometimes we use trade embargoes, which is a stoppage of commerce and trade, to get what we want politically. So, I mean, we had a trade embargo with Cuba up until, well, like this year. We had put sanctions and trade embargoes on Iran. Another trade embargo that happened between 1985 and 1991 was with South Africa. And that's because we wanted South Africa to stop the apartheid movement. So as much as we try to establish free and open trade, we also use that as a bargaining chip to get what we want politically.